solid information that even the IDF is the Israeli Defense Force. That's the army, the military apparatus of the Israeli state. They use B'Tselem reports. They also use Palestinian Human Rights Monitoring Group reports, and they also use Yishdin reports. These are academic enough that even the Israeli military will use them to double-check their own statistics. And so they did this really neat project where they gave 500 video cameras out to people in Hebron. In this surrounding area right here, B'Tselem passes out all these video cameras, and they're like, you know what? All you little farmers have these video cameras. And when these gangs of militant Zionist youth come and attack you, videotape them. And that's all we can do right now. And this is the first time I knew there were settlements. I didn't really know what a hilltop youth was or a Zionist youth was. And they, the same week I got there, they had a video returned to them with 4 boys in hoods, with no shirts on, with baseball bats coming, and they beat down like a 55-year-old man in broad daylight, and his wife videotapes about half of it before she breaks down and just goes into shock. And that came out, and I was like, oh my God, that's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. There's something really fascinating and I think something very voyeuristic about militant youth groups, whether they're Hitler Youth or whatever it is. There's something like, wow, that's something just interesting. It's fascinating. It also is just scary as hell. So it's like, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna study youth violence, and let's see where this takes me. And really quick, so now let's talk about the settlements. You want to do me a favor?
Sure.
And so I had a lot of conversations, and everybody's pissed off about the settlements, and they don't understand why no one else is pissed off at them. So, oh, sorry, in here, on the map.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. And so I'm like, yeah, there's a couple settlements. Like I heard about them back in my Christian days, but I was like, whatever. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And as Muhammad will demonstrate, it starts to become a kind of a big deal. They're everywhere. There's 121 recognized settlements within West Bank alone. There used to be 13 in Gaza, 15 in Gaza, but they were removed as part of a peace deal. They were removed, which was pretty cool. But there's still 121 recognized ones, and there's also these things called outposts. Outposts are little baby settlements, and there's this really good idea where you have a settlement right here, and 400 or like 30 kilometers that way, you have another settlement. So they build little tiny houses, and they put their little RVs, and they put another little tiny house, and eventually they get another one over here, some teepees. I'm dead serious, these are teepees, these are little tiny brick buildings, like tree houses, stuff like that. And they get enough of them where this becomes a settlement, and that's the end goal. So right now there's 121 settlements, there's 100 outposts at least that are documented. This happened in 1967. Once Israel gained military control of both Gaza and here, it's very fascinating. The reason that it was done, Israel said, was to maintain security. This is also, they grabbed just every single biblical city also. You have a mixture of people that are very political and very decisive military people. You also have a lot of religious people that share military positions, and they have these religious convictions, and they use them they use their high-ranking military positions to kind of map out and set the stage for what they consider the Armageddon, or the reunification of Israel. It's very scary, it's very real. Nothing like we have in the United States with our military. That's a joke too. Okay, so but just to give you some numbers too, there's 6.5 million people in Israel. There's about 1.5 million in Gaza, I think, and maybe about 1 million in West Bank, and maybe about 4 million Palestinians dispersed in other Arab countries, in the United States, and in England. There's a lot of people. But as far as settlements go, there's 462,000 settlers in occupied areas in West Bank. So that's, I'm not good, that's an eighth of the population, or sorry, 8% of the population of Israel is occupying areas in West Bank. It's kind of hard. I'm going to scoot you over a little bit. You'll notice how this is Jerusalem. Oops. This is Jerusalem. It goes in like this. That's because Israel in the 1967 war went over, grabbed all this area, drew a new border. Muhammad's not even halfway done, by the way, but with all these little dots. All those dots are the major settlements. The minor ones are, well, those are all the minor ones. So this area right here is called East Jerusalem. This used to be part of West Bank, and then one day, about 1980, Israel officially made this part of Israel. So this is West Bank, and now one day it's Israel. And that was really difficult for a lot of people because we'll get to it. But just to let you know, that little funny area right here is also still Israel. And Jerusalem, this is the old city. Jerusalem is now cut in half between east and west, but it's all taken care of by Israel. Including this little pocket right here, there's 460,000 settlers in it. It's a massive, massive movement. And there's 3 kinds of settlers, just to let you know. There are, I'd say, roughly the most common are the quality of life settlers. These are people that travel back into Israel every single day to go to work, and they just kind of have this nice little suburb house. And it's a state idea. They're like, hey, you know, we should get people to move here that aren't just like religious people. So right now, I'd say maybe about 1/3 of settlers, a little more than 1/3 of settlers, are in these little places right around here. They're very, very close, so that they can still commute into Jerusalem or Tel Aviv. This right here is about a 45-minute drive, so you can get to the other side of the country in 45 minutes. So you have a lot of these nice little condo townhouse complex. It's like the best way I can describe it is just like total yuppie California suburb, sitting right in the middle of West Bank. And for some people, that's what a settlement is. They have swimming pools, community groups. It's just like a little suburb, but around it is just a small military group. The second kind of settlement is the ultra-Orthodox settlement. There's many, many different kinds of Jewish people. Just to let you know, 70% of Israelis are secular, as in they don't believe in God. They don't align with any of the subgroups of Judaism, which I didn't know. So 70% of the people aren't even into the whole religion thing. Of those 30%, one of the more significant groups is the ultra-Orthodox. These guys, sometimes they have the curls, sometimes they don't, but they dress like they did in Poland in 1780. They just kind of kept that style. And there's many different kinds of ultra-Orthodox, but they're all kind of roughly lumped into one category, both by the state and by their religious affiliations. There's 2 main groups within them. They argue, but they learn to get along. But they are getting kicked out of Israel because nobody likes them. We'll get on to inter-Israeli politics, social politics in a little bit, but they have a really hard time because a lot of the men don't work. They have a lot of children, and then they stay home and they study the Torah, and they go on Israeli state disability. And most Israelis, especially the secular ones, 70% of the country, is really pissed off about this. Like, dude, we're not going to let you stay home and read your favorite book while we all work for you and you have tons of kids. Like, that's messed up. So what do? We're going to throw you over by the Arab people, because that's where you belong. And so the level of racism within Israel is it's really hard to talk about. And so I think there's a couple out here. These are the ultra-Orthodox settlements. They just want to be left alone. As long as they have enough food, they're pretty happy. Those first 2 groups are not super political. In general, they vote right wing, but they're not super political. The really political groups are not the ultra-Orthodox, but the Orthodox. And these are the guys with the kippahs. They have the little strings coming out of here. And oftentimes, these guys are the most violent, most political, most politically active settlers. And those were the kids that were the focus of my research and of just my interest in general. Now, the interesting thing so this wasn't just like